Good evening, everyone. I have 6:30 p.m. Today is Tuesday, October 4th. I would like to welcome everyone to the Columbus Common Council Special Committee of the Whole. And with that, if our clerk, Pat Gable, could take the roll call.
Albright.
Present.
Arnold. Here. Gray.
Present.
Motive is excused. Reed.
Here.
Rolke.
Present.
Steiner.
Here. Thank you. Next up, and this meeting was properly noticed. So next up on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Mayor Arnold and a second from Alder Steiner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Next up is to convene to closed session per 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss potential purchase of property within the city of Columbus. I will take a motion to convene to closed session for the reasons read.
I move that we convene to closed session.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Mayor Arnold and a second from Alder Rolke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will be convening to closed session. When we come out of this meeting, then we'll go into our regular council meeting directly after. Thank you, everyone.
are getting ready to start the Columbus, Wisconsin City Council meeting. City Clerk Pat Gable will now take the roll.
All right.
Here.
Arnold? Here. Gray?
Present.
Motive is excused. Reed?
Here.
Rogie?
Present.
Steiner?
Here.
We have a quorum. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances, and I am now looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Alder Gray. Alder Gray seconds.
So it has been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Correspondence and communication. Chief Weiner wants to address the next COW meeting. Judge Shellen, did you wish to speak now? Sure. Okay. And I need to remind people that we ordinarily ask them to stay to 3 minutes during the public comments part of our meeting.
Very good, Mayor. Unusual for me to appear at council meetings, but people have asked me about the council's sudden decision last week to dissolve the municipal court, and most of them learned about it after the fact in the news. And I share with them that I've been assured it was not a result of any the council persons desired. Most of you probably wish you had more time to study the issue and get more citizen input, and the citizens, of course, wish that they had more information than just the news bites. I'm going to skip all that. I'm going to just encourage citizens who missed the meeting to view the September 29th council session on the city's media channel. I just take this opportunity to clarify just 3 facts. Number 1, there is a value in having a municipal court. That service and value is increased when it is truly local, where you have direct say, not a committee to, let's say, input into the court. Number 2, without a municipal court, joint or local, the automatic default is circuit court, and it was covered extensively at the meeting. Number 3, finally, I'm not comfortable talking court and money, and I don't want guilt and innocence and guilt and forfeiture to be influenced by a profit or parish philosophy. But there is a cost to everything, and yes, the city budgets a tax subsidy. In 2021, I want people in the public to get the facts, and this is all public record. 2021, that tax subsidy was $33,106. But what people don't know is by the year end, the city had received $60,880. The court generates revenue for the state, the county, but mostly for the city that hosts that court. And secondly, in 2022, currently the subsidy is $31,244. In just 9 months, the city's already received $50,780. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's it for correspondence and communications tonight. I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. I am looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Alder Gray moves to approve the consent agenda.
Alder Rogie will second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we're going to move on to under new business. The first item is that October 9th through the 15th is Fire Prevention Week. And I have actually signed a resolution 20-22 recognizing the importance of fire prevention. And I guess I also want to thank our fire department for helping to ensure the safety and security of everybody living in our city and in the area. And so I'm going to ask people to make sure that they have their smoke alarms working and that they have a plan with other family members if a fire does happen in the home about getting out of the home safely. And I want to remind everybody that this is a very serious and important event. So this is the 100th anniversary of Fire Prevention Week. And so I am proclaiming October 9th to the 15th as Fire Prevention Week. And I hope everybody takes this to heart and does what they need to do.
Because it's a resolution, you'll need a motion, second, and a vote.
Okay, so I think you've all had an opportunity to read the resolution. So I am looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
Alder,
Rolke moves to approve resolution 20-22, Fire Prevention Week, October 9th through 15th, 2022.
Alder Gray will second.
So it has been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 20-22, Fire Prevention Week. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Okay. We're going to move on now to item number 2, which is to consider and take action on the amended CDL reimbursement agreement. And I think Paul will clarify this for you. There's a little confusion after our last meeting.
Good evening. Actually, I'll make it more confusing and then hope we can clarify it when we're done. So at your last meeting, you adopted the reimbursement for the CDL licenses. And I think that there was a full agreement that if the city paid for a CDL license and the employee left during the first 12 months, they would have to reimburse the city for everything. So I think we have an agreement on that. And I think that at the end of 2 years of employment, the employee would have to pay for nothing. So I think we have an agreement on that. The issue is what happens between year 1 and 2, and what I think you said is what version number 1 is, which was a 25% reduction every 3 months during that second year. And when I put pen to paper and the math worked out, that ended up with basically the last 3 months of the year, starting in month 21, there'd be no reimbursement. So if somebody left in the 21st month, they wouldn't have to reimburse the city for anything, which is not exactly what I think you were intending. So that's why we're here, or that's what my question is. So version number 1 that you see in front of you is what I think you said. Version number 2 is doing the 25% reduction, but making it start in the 15th month instead of the 12th month. And then version number 3 is what I had originally with a 20% reduction instead of a 25% reduction.
I can clarify what I meant pretty quickly. 12 to 16 would be 75, 16 to 20 would be 50, and then 20 to 24 would be 25.
And that would be the other option.
0 at 24. It's not one of the options on here, unfortunately, but that was my intention when I brought it forward.
And that math actually would work.
Anyone else have any? Trina?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I have the same understanding as Greg. So it'd be an agreement.
Perfect. So, okay, so then 12 to 16 would be 75, 16 to 20 would be 50, 21 to 24 would be 25, and after 24 is 0. Make that motion and we're done.
Who would like to make the motion?
Right. I will move that the CDL repayment agreement will be 100% repayment for up to the first 12 months. Then the 12th month to the 16th month will be 75%. The 16th month to the 20th month would be 50%, and then the 20th month to the 24th would be 25%, and then 0 after.
And now make a second to the way he read it.
So it has been moved and seconded, as Alder Gray read it. Pat, did you get all that? Okay, good. Is there any further discussion or any further questions on this? Okay. In that case, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that, Paul. Now we're going to move on to number 3, which is to consider and take action on the new police squad car. And we have Chief Weiner here.
Good evening. I'll just give a real brief recap. I don't think there were any questions when I was in front of the committee of the whole. Essentially, we've ran short of staff this year. We have some unused wages and benefit monies that won't cut into next year's budget for the purchase of a squad. We have one ready to retire. So my request is to use unused wage and benefit monies to be able to order a new squad. If I order it in the next few weeks, we'll probably see it in April or May. That's how far behind they are. And the breakdown was in the packet for the committee of the whole about the expenses and the costs, and I'll answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Chief Weiner? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
in that case, I'm looking for a motion to approve the police squad car.
Alder Albright can make a motion to consider and take action on the new police squad using funds from fiscal '22.
Reed will second.
So
Clarify what that action is, not just consider and take action. Clarify what.
Request repurposing budget for fiscal '22 budget funds to purchase and set up of a new squad.
Perfect.
Okay.
Reed will re-second.
So it has been moved and seconded that we repurpose the 2022 budget funds for purchase, setup of a new squad car for the police department. Is there any further discussion? And we will do a roll call on this item.
Gray,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Rolke,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Albright,
Aye.
motion carries.
Great, thank you so much. And now we're going to move on to number 4, which is to consider and take action on the expense line policy update. I read this over a couple times. Do you have like a shortened version so I don't have to read the whole thing?
Sure. The expense line policy does a couple things. Primarily what it does is allows the department head some flexibility in how they apply their budgeted funds. So in the event that one line might go over by a little bit, as long as they can accommodate it in other lines, they can enjoy that flexibility while still adhering to the overall budget goals. There's also some policy on which accounts are reported out in the treasurer's report. And so this corrects a few staff titles, clarifies the policy, adds a little bit of flexibility at the low dollar expense lines, and then updates the funds that are reported on the treasurer's report.
So it sort of streamlines and cleans up some things. Okay. Anyone have any questions for Kyle before I ask for a motion?
Oh,
Go ahead.
No, I was just noticing that under like the authorization policy limits, like for the department heads, the amount was increased to, 1,500 from 1,000, and the city administrator, 1,500, but less than 15,000 instead of 10,000.
So we should separate these in the future. That's policy number 2. Under item number 5, we're doing item number 4 first, which is just the expense line policy.
Okay.
And so they blend together, especially if they're front to back.
Sorry.
They printed a double-sided.
Yeah, I was sort of, yeah. Yeah, we're trying to save paper, so that's a good thing. Okay, anybody else? Okay. In that case, I am looking for a motion on the expense line policy update.
Alder Gray moves to approve the expense line policy update.
Reed will second.
Will second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we approve the expense line policy update. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then we'll go on to number 5, which is to consider and take action on the purchasing policy update. And I think that's what you were asking about, Alder Reed. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was just asking how the decision came about for the increases.
There was really not a magic, policy that we established. It was kind of another round number. It's been $10,000 for the council approvals and $1,000 for administrator approvals for some time. And especially now with inflation, it's kind of getting to be very routine to spend more money. And we're actually seeing staff, like at the wastewater plant, they're purchasing their bulk chemicals in a semi and shorting the load to come in underneath so that they can get the chemicals in the amounts and times they need, which is not the goal of the policy. So this updated the amount, and that can be tweaked. The goal is to, I think, still respect the amount of money we spend and try to put some limits on it so that the council is involved in the larger dollar amounts, but also give the flexibility for staff to kind of do their day-to-day operations.
Thank you. Makes sense.
Anyone else have any questions? In that case,
I do
go ahead.
actually have a
Sorry.
question. So as far as the purchasing policy and the procedures, do you do background checks like VendorNet or the contractors the state has deemed that they can't work with at all?
We don't have like a background check as part of our purchasing policy, no.
Okay.
Anyone else? So I am looking for a motion to take action on the purchasing policy update.
Alder Gray moves to approve the purchasing policy update.
Alder Steiner will second.
So it has been moved and seconded that we approve the purchasing policy update. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes then. The next item, number 6, is to consider and take action on the asset disposal policy update.
Again, this is a policy that we refer to when things have gotten to the point where we're either going to replace them with something new or they're outdated, and how we actually go about getting rid of them. There was one change from the previous policy that was in the packet last time, and that in those items that are broken or basically have ended their useful life, if their value is less than $100, they can be disposed of administratively with permission, internally administratively. And that was originally $50. So that would give us a little bit more flexibility then.
Anyone have any questions on the changes proposed? In that case, I'm looking for a motion.
Alder Albright can make a motion to approve the asset disposal policy update, taking the $50 to $100 for items that can be disposed of and they don't have, their useful life is done.
Alder Steiner can second.
So it has been moved and seconded that we approve the asset disposal policy update as noted by Alder Albright. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, now we're moving on to number 7, which is to consider and take action on the overhead allocation policy. And I think I'll let Kyle walk us through this one too.
All right, so previously, as we had the wastewater operation more integrated with the public works side of the city, and we've now kind of made some changes in how those are organized. There was really no written down method for allocating some of our overhead fixed costs, things that are statutorily required or are in ordinance and have to exist as part of the overall organization. So this policy develops a way to take basically the tax levy expenditures and compare them to the utility expenditures, subtracting the personnel costs and some other things like the amount that the utility would pay to as a payment in lieu of taxes, take that out of the calculation, and then come up to a number that you can basically divvy out the overhead based on that boiled down number. So this policy would then give us a method to do that year over year in a consistent manner, and we haven't had that previously.
Anyone have any questions for Kyle? Okay. In that case, I'm looking for a motion.
Alder Gray moves to approve the overhead allocation policy.
Alder Albright will second that.
So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the overhead allocation policy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're moving on to number 8 on the agenda, which is to approve the monthly claims in the amount of $789,072.69.
Alder Gray moves to approve the claims in the amount of $789,072.69.
Alder will second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the claims in the amount specified. Is there any discussion? So we will do a roll call on this item.
Gray,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Rolke,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Albright.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, now we're moving on to the report of city officers, and we will let City Administrator Ellison go first.
All right, thank you. Just a few items tonight. Fuller Street, they're back on track doing work. We had delays with an unmarked gas main that was right underneath the line, and that pulled the project, basically stopped it completely for quite a while. That part of it's done. Shortly after that, we identified a sewer line that wasn't mapped either. That threw a little wrench in it. Luckily, they got that one addressed fairly quickly. So there's been a couple hiccups. We're still on track at this point, we believe, to finish the project on time. We've been communicating with the Department of Administration just in case weather would turn bad or something like that. So everything looks like we'll finish on time within the DOA requirements, but we are keeping an eye on it. On Thursday of this week, there'll be a stormwater public information meeting. Jason Letha and I think some other staff from Rupert Milky will be presenting some preliminary information from their comprehensive stormwater study that they've been doing for a while. So I would encourage all the council members to attend and all the members of the public as well. It's one of those issues that's sort of ever present, and I think they've got a lot of really good information that they've dug up and kind of compiled into one report. So I think this is what we've been looking for to answer a few of those questions, and it should be pretty informative. So that will be this Thursday, October 6th, from 6:30 to 8, and it will be right here in the council chambers at City Hall. And then finally, next week on Tuesday, just a reminder that we have our budget workshop, and this is kind of a combination budget workshop for the council and also the public information meeting so that the public can get a good understanding of how the budgets come together, how it kind of proceeds from the starting point to where we are today, and ask questions, receive additional information. So that will be next Tuesday, October 11th, again here in council chambers at 6:30 p.m. And this is a new effort this year to try to get more information out there, so we encourage all the members of the public that have had questions about the budget or are just curious to come out and kind of participate and get additional information so that we can answer any questions you might have. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you very much. I have a question. Is Fuller Street still closed off from Park Avenue,
Yes.
all the way
The man
past
in the
the-
back of the room is nodding his head, yes. I think it is still closed. Do we have an estimated opening?
They do not right now. I talked to them about that with all their equipment. It's looking like it may be closer to the end of the project
okay.
due to the problems that they encountered.
Well, one of the reasons I ask is because tomorrow's a big day for the Columbus Elementary School. They're having tours of the renovations starting at 5:30, going till 7:30. So everybody can see the really amazing things they've done to that little school. I hear it's really, really something. I ran into former principal Sue Sewell, I guess last weekend, and she couldn't believe how amazing it is. So, and everyone is invited to go tour the building starting at 5:30. They're going to have a little celebration at 6:30. And I actually have signed a proclamation honoring the Columbus School District, which I'm going to present to the new superintendent, Jake Flood, and looking forward to really forming a nice partnership between the city and the school district. I also want to give a shout out tonight. We had our first, if not ever, in a long time, city staff picnic last Saturday, and Amy Sandow and Amy Jo Myers were pretty instrumental in putting it together. We met at Sadie B's Orchard. It was in Fall River, but still, it was lovely. I hope nobody from Fall River is watching. It's a very nice little community. Anyway, this was a lovely orchard, and we had a great time, good food. Everybody got to pick apples, and I actually made an apple pie yesterday from the apples that I picked. It was delicious, so I hope this is something, a tradition that we continue to do, because it was a lot of fun. And again, since we're doing this thing with the elementary school tomorrow, just remember Fuller Street's closed. So, there is a nice big parking lot that you can get to on Dickinson, I believe, right? And there is a fair amount of parking around there. I want to remind people that Cardinal Lanes, which we're all really excited about coming to Columbus, is going to have a grand opening of their bowling alley and their restaurant, which is, most of you know, is located right behind Walgreens. And this will be on Sunday, October 16th. A lot of people are excited about welcoming this new business to Columbus, as am I, even though I'm the world's worst bowler. I think it's going to be really fun to have this business in town. Amy Jo Myers from the Rec Department reminds us that October is a big month with a lot of Halloween stuff going on. They are sponsoring a home decorating contest, and some of my neighbors are already really getting into it. They're going to have make and take crafts, a pet costume contest, Halloween bingo, family-friendly Halloween movie, which is Goosebumps, at the Pavilion, pumpkin hunt, community bonfire with a DJ, and she wants to remind people that all the details are on the City of Columbus Recreation page as well as on the Facebook page. And she'd also like me to thank all the sponsors who donated to make this week happen. She couldn't do it without you. And I know that trick-or-treating is going to be on that Sunday, which is the 30th, from 4 to 7. And I know the Chamber is also sponsoring a Safe Halloween event, which they're going to hold at the firehouse. Is that right? But is it on the 30th? Okay, so, and that should be a lot of fun. The public library has a couple of adult book clubs that are, they meet both in person, and you can also do it through Zoom. They meet in person at the senior center. And if you want to do it through Zoom, you can register on their Facebook page, on the library Facebook page. They have a book and a movie club that meets the second Thursday of the month at 1:30, and an afternoon book club that meets the third Thursday of the month at 1 o'clock. And they are collaborating with the Madison Public Library with the Go Big Read program, and they're going to be doing that on December 2nd, will be the concluding meeting for that, and registration, again, it will be on the Facebook page and the website. So lots going on in Columbus, and that's it for me. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Alder Gray moves to adjourn.
Alder Albright will second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
7, so let's take a quick 10 and about 7:35-ish. Try to be back. Sound good to everyone?
Sounds good to me.
Good evening, everyone. I have 7:35. Today is Tuesday, October 4th. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Columbus Common Council Committee of the Whole. With that, if our city clerk, Pat Gable, could take a roll call, please.
Albright.
Here.
Arnold. Here. Gray.
Present.
Reed.
Here.
Rolke.
Here.
Steiner.
Here.
Thank you. And this meeting was properly noticed. So next up is to approve the agenda. If I have no alterations or comments, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Alder Steiner will motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Alder Rolfe, second.
I have a motion from Alder Steiner and a second from Mayor Arnold. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Next up is citizen comments. Tonight we have Chief Dennis Weiner that wanted to speak with us.
Good evening again. I'll be real brief. I just have two topics I want to bring up. The long-awaited body camera grant that we've talked about was released last Thursday at about 2:15, and I had ours submitted by 4 o'clock. So hopefully we're in the queue. It did say first come, first serve. It's open till the end of the month. It was $2 million statewide. We ran into an 11th hour hiccup with getting everything tweaked. We discovered that the server that we use to store the videos and maintain the system is inadequate. It's not the city server because of federal standards, because we house criminal justice records. We're on kind of a sub-server of the city, and that sub-server is a very run-of-the-mill, getting near the end of its life, virtual server is what they call it. So I had to include the cost of a new server, video server, in my grant, and I don't know if that's gonna put a bad taste in the state, whoever looks at it, officials or not, but the cost of the server and everything else was over 2.5 times what the body cameras and the equipment were. So it's a relatively huge project, mostly because of the server, but without that, it doesn't pay to get these cameras. And the brand that I promoted are the ones that will sync and work interactive with the brand of squad cameras we have, and will be a lot easier. There are less cheaper alternatives, but are not as user-friendly. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. When I hear any news, I will certainly share. There is a match, so at some point, if it is approved, I may be back to talk about the match, which I think we can figure out. I have some ideas, and I think we'll be able to do it, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Secondly, for the community, for the public, October 29th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Prairie Ridge Health, we're having the fall drug take-back, drive-up service to the ER, or I'm sorry, not the ER, the main entrance. The drive-up from 9 to 11, bring your unused, expired prescription meds. You can bring Sharps as well. We'll have Sharps containers there. We always get a few people that show up, and we have Sharps containers ready as well. I'll probably be staffing it, so you can stop and say hi to me and drop off your meds. And we're going to try to get some, with the hospital, some social media stuff out as well on the city site and Facebook and stuff. So I just wanted to get this out there a little bit ahead of time. Saturday, October 29th, 9 to 11, drive-up service at Prairie Ridge Health. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak that didn't get a chance to sign up? All right, seeing none. Moving on, item number 5, you'll see in your packet, you have the minutes from the CUC, the EMS, the CHLPC, the PFC, tourism. Were there any questions, comments? Oh, go ahead, Alder Albright.
So just a quick question on EMS. So Mike is looking for, or Lifestar is looking for storage space for a 3rd ambulance. Is that something that's in the works?
They did ask all the member municipalities, and from my knowledge, no one had any extra space dedicated. It's got to be conditioned space. It can't be cold storage in the winter or anything like that because of medications, et cetera. So I don't believe that they've had anyone take them up on an offer of additional space.
Thank you, Kyle. Any other questions or comments? All right, then. Moving right along, item number 6 is the ARPA funds discussion. last meeting, we discussed potentially looking for another option that would have more economic growth or growth for our city. Unfortunately, the first option that we were thinking of is not going to pan out. So I would like to table the discussion until we have a good, solid additional option. Any other thoughts or comments? Is everyone comfortable moving this to our next committee of the whole? All right. Then next up is item number 7, the updated fee schedule. And if you'd like to take the floor for us, Brandon.
All right, the only changes reflected in this fee schedule as opposed to the last one is the updates from Amy Jo and the Parks and Rec Department. The memo is not included in the packet, but I did hand out a copy before the meeting started. So the changes she made are reflected in the fee schedule. You just didn't see the memo until today.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate you and Amy Jo getting that together for us. Any thoughts or comments on the updated fees from Amy Jo? Go ahead, Mayor Arnold.
I'm just very happy to see the rate increase for the deposits on the, especially on the pavilion. And, you know, it's, I think, much more in line with what other places are charging and much more reasonable. I mean, so I'm very happy that we're going ahead with that. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Mayor Arnold. And I agree. Last I just spoke to Amy Jo directly about it. She mentioned that it was basically booked up for the next season. So obviously there is room for growth in what we're charging. Alder Reed, I see you slowly going.
Oh, no. No, thank you. I was glad to see there was a increase, but that it wasn't exorbitant. So I felt pretty comfortable with the amounts. That was reasonable.
Thank you, Alder Reed. Any other thoughts or comments? Is everyone okay moving this forward then? Awesome. Thank you much, Brandon. Then moving right along, next up is the 911 Joint Powers Agreement with Dodge County. This is something that we commonly enter into every year. It's just so that Dodge County can come here and offer assistance when needed and vice versa for when they need it. Is there any questions or comments? We have the chief here if you have questions, so there's a good man to answer it if anybody has any questions. Seeing none, is everyone okay moving this forward to the next regular agenda? Okay, perfect. Then next up is the Dodge County Humane Society Animal Contract. You'll see that in your packet. So it looks like basically what we're moving forward is the same that we did last year would be the overall recommendation. Did anyone have any questions or concerns? Comments, anything that you think should be any different? All right, then let's see here. So I believe we did, what was it? Last year it was 5 domestic strays, right? And it was 1,300, so it's slightly increased this year. It's 1,500 instead of 1,300 with the 5 domestic strays. And it looks like the 400 over for the animals over 5 is the same. So we would be moving forward with the lump sum of 1,500 that covers up to 5. Mm-hmm. Or is there a different amount that anyone thinks?
No, I think that's probably good.
Okay, perfect. Nice and easy. We'll move that forward to our next regular agenda. Then next up is item number 10, the discussion of the municipal court transition. Go ahead, sorry.
Did we fully answer the question? Was there a second box of please choose one of the following options? Must have pre-approval or...
Oh, good call.
Must have approval for each annual effort contract term has been reached. I think we need to check a second box.
Yeah, I
the
believe
first
it's that the police departments had to have approval before they accept any animal,
Okay.
so that people
So
can't
the
just
first
show
one is
up.
automatically
I think that's historically what we've done, but I think it's good to include it in the decision.
Right.
going to check the first one then. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that for us, Alder Reed. So everybody is comfortable with the having to have permission. Okay, perfect. Next up is the discussion about the municipal court transition. If Kyle, you'd like to field us on that one?
All right. So based on the recent events, we're sort of working through that transition of what's the next chapter of the municipal court. We have a long history of a joint municipal court that we were with Eastern Columbia County Joint Municipal Court. But there's others out there, Sun Prairie and Beaver Dam. I was contacted by another Dodge County joint court that was interested in having us join. So I'm really looking just kind of for confirmation about what path the council wants to take because of how abruptly we left the ECC JMC last time. I think we had a good relationship prior to that, and we know the history, and we know that there's a long history of no tax dollars needed to support the operations. My preference and my recommendation would be to see if we can come to terms with that court system that we were historically with, but we can also conduct a more wide-ranging search. It just may lead to a couple questions with the Columbia County Court to say, are you wanting to be with us or not? So that's essentially what I need to know.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. Go ahead, Alder Reed.
Oh, thank you. While I'm assuming that we will go with the Columbia County, I would like to just check out the local options, see what's going on with Sun Prairie and Beaver Dam, and if there's any type of substantial, rate or rule differences.
Thank you, Alder Reed. My instinct would be to try and rejoin the Eastern Columbia County Court. I think it's the closest one. It worked really well for us in the past. We didn't have to contribute tax dollars. So we already know that it's kind of the best fit for us. So I'd like to try and rejoin them immediately. And if that's not possible, then try to flesh out other options. But that's for all of us to decide. Alder.
So I would be okay going with the group that we were with before, but I agree with Trina that I think it might be useful to see what Beaver Dam and Fall River or that Sun Prairie have to say, because it might be nice if we're the smaller group than the larger group. Because if we go back to the same group, we'd be the largest community again, right? Like with EMS. It might be beneficial if we're one of the smaller ones.
I understand that viewpoint, but they do service, I believe, the vast majority of Columbia County. So in that respect, we're the largest community, the single community, but overall, they're the largest court in the area.
Yeah, I did some numbers in research. They have about 20,000 people that they cover population-wise from the various municipalities, and they have 2 branches or 2 locations where they hold court.
Right. Yeah, it's just so much easier. My fear is if we start checking out other opportunities, we did kind of leave them high and dry and quick last time. If we start looking around and vetting other potential courts, that might sour our relationship further and might make it so they don't want us to be a part of them. That's kind of where my instinct is on trying to rejoin them. If for some reason that doesn't work out, look elsewhere.
I would say I kind of agree. If we can get back in with a court system we already know and have used before, and they're willing to accept us back, we should definitely join with them. It's in Columbia County, which is majority of Columbus as well. If they don't want us back, then obviously we should check out other options as opposed to the circuit court as a default, because nobody wants us to go to circuit court because that's not effective at all. So if we can go into Columbia County, the ECC JMC, I would say that's the way to go.
Thank you, Alder Steiner. Alder Reed?
Oh, thank you. I'm just wondering what kind of time crunch we're on for when we have to.
We're not really under a great time crunch. The current court will continue to operate till the end of the judge's term, which is April 30th. There will be a transition before that so that the citation's written, at a certain point, kind of there's a break, and the software has to get updated at a certain point, and then they go through the software to the new court system, and then they would begin hearing them after that, the term is over. But we're not looking at that in the next month or two, but I think they're probably setting their annual budget. They're actually having a meeting of the ECC JMC in November, and we could probably have, if everything worked out, everything, settled in November, so that we would be set and there'd be a lot of certainty about the transition and how that would go, even on the law enforcement side. And I know they are willing and ready to take us back. There's also some money that, as a previous member, we had accumulated, but that's still with the court. And if we rejoined the court, it sounds like, that would, the money under that title would still be considered our money, whereas if we're not in that court, it's obviously not our money. So it may be beneficial to consider that.
And that's another really good reason that I didn't know of, but that's another good reason to try and go back to them. Mayor Arnold, did you?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you and Kyle and Adam. I think we ought to rejoin the Eastern Columbia County Joint Municipal Court. It just sounds like it's the best option, and even though we've got until April, I think I could see Paul nodding his head yes when, budget time, and we want to get something in place so we're not high and dry a few months from now. So, yep, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mayor Arnold. Chief, did you have an opinion that you wanted to give the council on? It'll affect you greater than it'll affect any of us.
Thank you. The transition for my department is actually very simple. It'll just involve me. Typically, all of our citations are automated now on the squad computers. So actually, when days change on the calendar, the system automatically rotates itself to the next court date 30 days before a court date. So like if a court date is July 1st, 30 days before July 1st, it goes to the August court date. So the transition for me, software-wise, is probably about a half-hour project, just running an update on all of our squads and all of our network computers. And then as far as the Eastern Columbia County Joint Municipal Court, they'll be able to pull the citations down because they will be electronically sent to where they're held, that they can draw them out of. So, but as far as from this court's records and the transition of that, I can't speak intelligently on that at all. But from my perspective, for us providing the court officer, we're ready to go. Not going to be an issue. And software-wise and the transition of the court dates, all we need to know is when they want to have court. I believe in the past it's been the second Wednesdays of the month, and this court has been the third Wednesdays of the month. So I will just need to know what our date and times are going to be, so I can build those in when it's time for me to do that. And it's very simple. It doesn't change anything else on our end other than we explain to the drivers that your court date is such and such a date in the Eastern Columbia Municipal Court in Randolph. Here's the address, that type of stuff. Otherwise, it's pretty hassle-free.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chief.
Yep.
Alder Rolke, did you have an opinion?
I do. I am not at all interested in exploring the options in Sun Prairie and Beaver Dam. I thought it was very telling last week that both Attorney Green and Chief Weiner had spoken to the ease of the relationship in the past. I heard Judge Schellen say that, community members are concerned about continuity and the idea of a municipal court, and it's a relationship that we had for a lot of years prior to that. And then, Sun Prairie and Beaver Dam are both in different counties, so would there be a difference in perhaps fee structures or what we receive back on citations? We already know that the financials are good with Eastern Columbia County. I think it would be an easy transition back, so I don't care at all to find out about what Sun Prairie or Beaver Dam has to offer.
Thank you very much, Alder Rolke. All right. So let's see, I know we have at least half the council that wants to just go back to Eastern. What are your thoughts, Alder Albright?
Whatever.
You're okay moving forward with?
I'm okay, this is not my, I'm okay going forward with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Alder Reed, would you be okay moving forward with Eastern Columbia County?
Yes.
When it comes
Yeah.
back and it doesn't, if something comes up, Trina and I could be like, see? Told you so. I'm just teasing.
All right, perfect. It sounds like we have a consensus to move forward with rejoining the Eastern Columbia County Municipal Court if possible. Then let's see, next up is the presentation of the city administrator's proposed budget.
All right, let me just work on sharing my screen here. Alder Roki, can you see the budget screen?
I can't.
Well, that didn't work out.
Alder Roki, can you see the PowerPoint screen?
Not specifically on my screen, but I can sort of see it on the big screen behind Shelley, so it's okay.
How good are your eyes?
Better than they should be for my age.
That's what I'm gonna share. I don't know if it's working. Is that any different, Alder Roki?
Can you see it better now, Alder Rolke?
She's probably on mute.
Oh, no?
Technology.
Worked here twice now, so that's good. Luckily, claim closed. Alder Roki, can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that was simple. All right.
But Alder Rolke, quick note, I cannot see you, so if you have something, a question or a comment, you're unfortunately going to have to interrupt us.
No problem.
All right, so I'm just going to go through this. It's about 12 slides. The version you have printed in front of you is very similar to the version you had from 2 weeks ago. And it's just, this is intended to be sort of a highlight of a couple of the points. And then we're going to be looking at this and coming back next week. And if you have questions between now and then, we can certainly answer them. I've answered a few questions for an alder already. But the goal would be that you kind of dive in, develop the questions. I'll see if I can answer them. And then during the workshop, we can have a conversation kind of back and forth about what changes you might want to see. So just some core things. Population, we're 5,530 this year. Down 10 from last year. The equalized value was up significantly. The non-tax increment district equalized value raised 72.4 million. You see the two numbers. The first number is the current non-TIF equalized value, $535,529,200, and the number next to it was last year's non-TIF district numbers. The TIF district. That one looks like it had a really bad year because it's down about 20 million. It dropped in half. Well, as you remember, we closed TIF 3. So it's showing now the reflection of that money rolling off of the tax increment district and returning back to the TIF district, or I mean the value from the TIF district is returning to the non-TIF district equalized value that you saw went up 72 million. Still not great net new construction, but better than last year. It's 0.73% or $1.7 million. Again, that's one of the key components on the net addition to our levy limits. So jumping into the general fund budget, the general fund budget has an increase of $35,826, which is actually not very significant compared to the overall levy increase that we'll talk about in a little bit. The property tax contribution is going up $18,607, and the carryover funds are now at $184,500, and that's about $30,000 more than it was last year. Again, that's money unspent in this year's budget that we're moving forward either for a specific purpose, like we couldn't purchase something this year, or for a more general purpose to defray the need for tax revenue. The transportation aids are unknown. They were supposed to be out October 1st, and I still don't have them. We've been asking. They sent out something that they said was the transportation aids, but it was the wrong letter, and so we're still hoping. So that number I just used last year, so I know that there's going to be something that changes because it's a complicated formula. It's going to go up or down, so I wasn't sure which one it was going to do because they've added more funding, but it's really complicated to kind of project where you're going to be. So stay tuned on that, but that will be something we likely have to adjust. Also, the revenue side, the rental revenue increased to match some higher rates and the high demand. We've been really fortunate on our rentals right now, and we've been very successful. The general fund budget does a variety of things, and when you look at these, I think you kind of go back to what are our core things that we're trying to accomplish and trying to do. And we've maintained or increased commitments to our emergency services, the police, the fire, the EMS. We've increased the commitment to road maintenance, sidewalk repair, tree removals. We've broken stormwater repair and maintenance out into its own fund and segregated that so that it can build over time. And we've also maintained the pavilion maintenance and historic preservation funds. Just looking at some of the numbers, when you look at those top items, emergency services, between the police, the fire, and the EMS, the budget that you have in front of you has $60,000 additional funding going towards those services. And then between road maintenance, sidewalk repair, and tree removals, that's another $10,000 in new funding increases over the previous year. So when you look at where our priorities are and where we're spending our money, it's to the infrastructure, it's to the emergency services, it's to the things that go to the kind of the core functions of the government. Some new notable items that you'll see as you page through the general fund. The Planning and Zoning Department is now established in the general fund. Previously, that was in the CDA, or the Community Development Authority. We've separated those functions. The Planning and Zoning is sort of its own independent function, and then the Economic Development falls more under the administrator, so that's a new department that you'll see in there. The contingency funds that we've set aside for the unexpected, we've increased that, which is a good thing, and we've also added a line for contingency for employee compensation, so that as we look towards the compensation study, we might be able to make minor adjustments with that if there's something more urgent in the short term. Compensation study follow-up as well. They were intending to have it done already, and they've been running into problems with municipalities and utilities getting back to them. And so it's taken longer to kind of finish up those details, but we're anticipating having it in the next week or so that we can still act on it within the budget time frame. One other thing that we established in the budget is an employee engagement fund. This is in the administrator's budget, and the goal there is to do more things like having employee picnics, having recognition for employees that have birthdays, things like that, the things that kind of build the work culture. We didn't have anything specifically set up for that, even a holiday get together or anything like that. We don't have any money budgeted for that, and it seems kind of unusual to say we'd like to get everyone together, but it's going to cost you $20 a plate to come to this work function and kind of celebrate. So this is one of those ways that we think can help make us an employer of choice, and for a simple investment, I think can hopefully pay off some dividends. Also, you'll notice the sidewalks used to be in the general fund. Those have now moved to the capital fund. The compensation and benefits that you'll see incorporated throughout, the general wage increase that we've used is 3.5%. There's some targeted increases in there as well. The health insurance, we've talked a little bit before, about 10% increase in premium, so that increased the cost across the board. And then our side of the contribution for the Wisconsin retirement system also went up 0.3%. When we look at dollar amounts changing from 2022 to 2023, capital projects, you're going to see $69,000 new property tax contribution to that fund. Debt service, $58,000. The cemetery is about $10,794, mostly due to the restructuring of the position there, and we added hours and increased the wage, which more than doubled the employment cost out there. So that takes up most of that increase. The library, their increase is $4,400. And the aquatic center is just over 3,000. And the May Ward, we talked about incorporating for the beautification committee. That was previously budgeted at 500. We increased it 1,000. So the budget for the May Ward beautification in this budget is $1,500. Some budget changes again, garbage and recycling. If you remember last year, we were operating actually at a deficit. We had budgeted a deficit. We had gone 2 years with the rate, I believe, of $184 for the residential units. And the proposed fee in this budget to accommodate the previous increases would be to go up $10 a year. It's about 5.4% to $194 annually. And that would bring us back to a stable where we're breaking even. I think it's important to note that next year we're anticipating going out to a competitive process so that we can look in more of a adequate time frame what our options are for garbage, whether we stay with the county, whether there's another firm that can make a better quality argument or a better cost argument. But that will be coming up in 2023, and I guess that will kind of determine the future of where that rate goes. And that also covers recycling, so it's garbage and recycling. So when you think of the landscape recycling center, that's also included in those fees. The Columbus area EMS group, that was up about 3%. The only reason we went up that much is because our population went up more than everyone else's. The contract year over year actually was a flat contract. It didn't increase. We just took a bigger share of the population divisions. So municipal court, we talked about that. We still have to fund a partial year of the personnel costs and some of the court costs. So the tax subsidy is actually a reduction in $15,336, but there is still a subsidy there. And so as you look at it, those court expenses will roll off as we go into the 2024 budget, and it would be completely off of the expense line. The capital budget, that was one of the largest things that we talked about, $69,000 of tax levy money going to support that. We have a couple projects and some equipment, more than we've done in the past years. City Hall roof is included on here at $115,000. We have several leaks in our roof, and it's been patched a number of times, and we're hopeful to get that replaced in addition to the gutters. And that should be a long-term fix, not just a patch job. And the money that we're allocating that from is, as TID 3 closes out and they go through the audit, the money that's left over right now gets allocated out to the jurisdictions that are the overlying jurisdictions. So the school district will get their share, we'll get our share, the county will get their share, and the tech schools will. We anticipate our share should be around $115,000. So it could work out that one-time TID 3 closure gives us the funding to replace the roof. Also, we planned for Folsom Street, so that money is in there for next year's construction. And then when we look at the capital equipment, the Public Works is completing their purchase of the mini dump. There was some money last year, or actually there's some money in 22, but not enough to make the full purchase. So we've added money, and hopefully that will get it accomplished in 2023. It's hard to tell exactly what the prices are going to do because of how everything is just all over the board. The fire department engine is in here for $350,000 for the city share. The rural group would need to pick up their share as well, going to bring it up to the around $700,000 range. And really the ball's in their court as far as if they have the funding to do that in 23 or if they need to wait. The fire department pickup truck is in here at $45,000. Sidewalks are in at $37,500. Again, the most we've spent on sidewalks in many years. And then also the 72-inch mower is being replaced at $15,500. And we still have the second payment in there for the bucket truck that DPW had bought from Columbus Water and Light that they use for tree work and other things. So tax levy information, it's still really early, so it's hard to tell exactly where we're going to be with the tax levy. We know that last year, the way that the budget came out, most people, if they didn't have any adjustment to their property assessment, their tax bill either stayed the same or actually went down a little bit. The way it's looking right now is with the TID 3 closing, we had about 2.5% of our equalized value that will come back on as a one-time adjustment. There's also, with the significant increase in the debt service, there'll probably be some charges there that are going to increase the amount of tax levy that's needed to pay the existing debt service. So right now, year over year, it looks like that's a 5.3% increase in the property tax levy, but that's not the same thing as a 5.3% increase in your property tax bill or in the city line of your property tax bill either. So we still need to figure out more information about what the full assessed value is of the community, incorporating all the manufacturing information from the state, and then we can start drilling down on those numbers. But the TID 3 closure is going to be one of the big factors that that changes how much of an impact that has, because we're shifting expenses that were previously covered by TID 3, but we're also gaining some tax levy capacity at the same time. And so in addition to the significant debt service increase, we're having a significant increase in the capital projects and equipment that we've never really had before, funding it with tax levy dollars. And the increases that we're seeing are actually the timing is very good. With the TIF expenses kind of coming on, those all get counted against your expenditure restraint, depending on how you use them. And so with the inflation and the expenditure restraint, even a 5.3% increase in the levy, we still have several percentage points above that because of inflation that we could go to. So we don't have any expenditure restraint pressure this year. I anticipate probably not next year either. So it's kind of a convenient time for all of that to be occurring. So next Tuesday, October 11th, City Council Chambers, we're going to have the special budget workshop and public information meeting. So that's the opportunity to learn more about the budget, the preparation, the process, discuss some alterations that the council members might want to see, time for the council members to ask questions. The public will have an opportunity to ask some questions and try to gain some insight. And then the week after that, October 18th, ideally we will be considering the proposed 2023 budget for publishing. This does not mean adopting. This means taking any changes that you've identified and putting them into the document that we have to publish for the budget and getting that approved for publishing. And then that has to be out there for a certain amount of time before we can adopt it and before we have to have the budget hearing. So October 25th is a tentative date. That would be a listing session for the proposed 2023 budget. We identified this through some feedback that the public might want to have more opportunities to comment on the budget. I think the amount of feedback and involvement we get on October 11th might dictate whether or not we meet again on October 25th. But I think it's, as of now, it's a planned date. So unless something changes, I would anticipate having that. And then finally, on November 15th, we would anticipate holding the public hearing for the budget, and the council would consider adopting the 2023 budget. backup date being November 22nd. We could go past that, but you start getting the treasurer and everyone else that makes tax bills kind of nervous. But that is sort of the schedule of what we have yet in front of us. Does anyone have any questions right now about the budget, or again, it's similar to what you had before, but I think the goal would be for you to study it and develop some questions, and I'll get you the information that you need. And then next week would be the time to really dig in at the workshop and, kind of see what we need to do to make the budget what you want.
Thank you very much, Kyle. And so basically what Kyle's saying is, like, if you have kind of general or larger questions about the budget, tonight is a good time for them. Specific budget items would be better served for you for next Tuesday. Alder Albright?
So I've got two questions and a comment. So for Enerpac, that closes in December of this year, so going next year is when that can go towards capital, right?
Correct.
And so is that counted in this budget?
Yeah, so that is in here, the payment you see in here for 2023 is the final payment that should be made.
Okay, all right, and then for the 3.5% increase for wages and the 10% insurance, do you know what the percentage of the employees' insurance is going up? It's not gonna be 10% to them, is it?
Yeah, it will be. So it'll be 10% of what you pay. So we currently pay, say as the city, 88%, and they pay 12%. So their 12% is going to go up by that 10% of whatever that number is. Say it's $100, it'll go up $10.
Okay.
And if ours is $1,000, ours will go up $100. So we pay, the increase will be 10% on your proportional share.
Okay, and then my next comment, when we do our budget next week, can we do a slide on how taxes are split out, because I don't think residents understand, because they're like, well, why do we pay taxes? And, I think when I calculated mine, I think 33% of it goes to the city and the rest of it goes to the school and to county.
Absolutely.
If you could divide that up, that would be great, because I think people need to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Albright. Yeah, I think that's a good idea to help people understand where their tax dollars are going on a macro level before anything. And I think a lot of people don't understand that their taxes do not go to the city. Most of them do not go to the city. Any other questions, comments? So if you have any more specific questions or comments, I would encourage you to get them to Kyle before Tuesday, just so he can, prep for questions. It's always easier to know what's coming than for it to be on the fly if possible. Do you have anything else, Kyle, or?
I don't, other than just encouraging. It's a 30-some page, 35-page document with a ton of numbers, and what is always missing in there is there's a lot of backstory and don't be afraid to ask a question about if a number doesn't make sense. Don't be afraid to ask, because there's usually some reason why it is the way it is, and the budget document with thousands of lines makes it difficult to tell the story. So don't be afraid to reach out. That's what we're there for. I for one love it. So dive in, get in the budget, and let's talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. If there is no further discussion, Mayor Arnold?
Well, I wonder, can you email us your slideshow?
Yes, and you should also all have the electronic budget as well.
Okay.
Perfect. Then if there is nothing else, next up is item number 12, to convene to close session per 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss potential sale of property in the city of Columbus. I will take a motion to convene to closed session for the reasons read.
Alder Steiner will motion to convene a closed session for the reasons read.
Perfect.
Alder Rolke will second.
I have a motion from Alder Steiner and a second from Alder Rolke. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call, sorry about that. Pat, if you could take a roll call for us, please.
Arnold?
Yes.
Gray?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Rolke?
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Albright,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, we will not be coming back to air tonight, so thank you everyone who is watching at home, and have a great night.